$2?
$10 Walmart. They don't sell $2 ones anymore.
No?
No. I was hoping they did. That's where my dad used to go. He'd go in and he'd buy 10 or so pair at a time. He'd keep them in his truck and work at home in the VFW.
Yeah.
And that way everywhere he went, he had glasses. He'd always lose them.
Ugh. Bad.
I just realized that myself. Okay. By the sound of the bells at the church, and we know those are on within 0.3 of a second, it is now 7 o'clock, and we'll call the Board of Selectmen meeting to order. First order of business, I'm going to allow the moderators to go first. They're scheduled to be here tonight to discuss the governor's new emergency order number 83. So to make it easier for them so they don't have to sit here all night, I'm going to allow them to go first. And we will be discussing the new legislative order that can allow the moderators to postpone deliberative in both parts of town meeting. So, would you like the floor, Dennis?
Sure.
Can you just double check that microphone is on? Yeah.
Good evening. My name is Dennis Murphy. I'm the town moderator. Henry Parkhurst, the school moderator, is someplace behind me. Since I do the town part of it, I would like to know where the Board of Selectmen, what their opinion is, because Henry and I have to make this decision together. Otherwise, we'd have two different elections. A possibility of having two different elections, some in now and some later. And I'd like to know where the board sits. If you guys have a position. If you don't, that's fine.
What date did you have planned for the rescheduling?
We don't. That's going to have to come from the governing body.
I personally am in favor of postponing.
Okay.
Well, Dennis, you and I had spoke about this in the past, and and at the end of the day, it's yours and Mr. Parker's decision, not our board, and I appreciate you asking our opinion on it, but that's the reason that we moved everything to the school. My understanding was, so there was ample space for the separation, and I understand, the school has policy, school grounds, masks need to be worn, so that's where I stand. I think that we moved it up there for this reason, so we could have this space.
Do you have any opinion, Jan? Ben?
Sorry, I was reading the highlighted area here. I agree with both people. I agree that the original discussion was moving it, and at that point, because there was no means of postponing anything, I believe at that point the town and school had both agreed that that was the better option. But now that the governor has given a way to postpone things, I'm also not against the idea of postponing it. But I would like to also, I mean, there's not a lot of townspeople here tonight, but I would honestly like to hear from some of the townspeople that are here on how they feel. At the end of the day, I believe they
I'd like
have just as much say as I do.
I have here a petition that was handed to me as I came through the door. It's an online petition, and I'd like to give it to the Board of Selectmen for their notes.
Okay.
Okay, I'll give it to Kerry.
Yeah, give it to Carrie. Will.
How many signatures are on that petition?
75.
75. Actually, Dennis, can you just read, or if you want to hand it to me, I'll read it. It doesn't. We'll make sure it's included in the minutes by giving this to Carrie, but just so everybody knows what it says here. It says change our town deliberative date. About this petition, we the below signed are petitioning the appropriate governing bodies to postpone our town deliberative session until it is safe and comfortable for all to meet outdoors. All residents should feel safe when engaging in a democratic process. We, the undersigned, do not feel safe to participate in our civic duty and feel that not allowing us to safely participate will undermine our fair election process and change the overall outcome. Okay, yeah, and it says it collected 75 signatures. So, yeah, if you want to give that back to Carrie, she can make sure that gets into the minutes. So we have 75 people as of now that would like to see it postponed.
I don't know when the petition started, but that's it's a fair
Right.
amount.
And I mean, obviously, like, the petition hasn't gone to Jim for checking of,
It doesn't
Right.
have, that's a non-binding,
right, it's non-binding,
right.
but I still,
But the idea of, actually having.
75 people stepped forward and signed it, so.
And there was a concern that was brought up to me, and I don't know what the answer is. Even if we postpone, that the derivative of the COVID-19 from Africa is already here, and the vaccines aren't working for that one. And that would be another year, 6 months to a year before they come up with a vaccine for that. We are in a place where I don't know, whatever decision Henry and I come up with, it's not going to be a good decision. And no matter which way we go at it, because
Yeah, 'cause
people are concerned about the future, people are concerned about the present, and so people know if the sessions go into July or later, they go by the previous year's budget and all those expenditures from the previous year. And if there's anything new, they can't add it on there because it hasn't passed at all through either body. And September 1 is a drop dead date. And if something should happen, and I don't know what, again, I don't know what the answers are. Henry and I got to talk about it. And we'll tell you before we leave. We'll go, is the selectman's office open or the outer door?
Yeah,
We're going to go in there and talk about it. But I'm worried both ways. I work in the healthcare facility, I work at the hospital. I've had my COVID-19 shots, both of them. But I do know it's all over the place. And I do know that we have a variant running around this country right now that the vaccine seem to be touching. And affects the younger people more than the older people, this variant. So whatever decision comes up with, it's not going to be a good one. No one's going to be happy. And I wish I could make everybody happy, but I don't know what. I already know that we won't.
yeah. I'm glad you brought up about the what would happen to the budget if it happens to go past the fiscal year change. Now, what would happen with elected positions?
All elected positions, the people remain elected until we have the elections.
Okay.
So, so if a term ends, let's say my term ended, it's not, let's say March 1st, or at the session, at the voting session, I would be moderator until the end when we voted, and that could be April, May, June, July, possibly August, given, and I don't know, again, I don't know, and if this variant takes off, I'm looking at what happened a year ago also. We had this thing come at us, March was a shutdown. Will this variant do the same thing? I don't know, I'm not a medical person, I'm not a doctor.
Right.
I just,
Oh, that's the bad thing is everybody's working with a lot of unknowns, just trying to stay prepared for something that's unknown.
Well, Executive Order 83 just said postponing until April, May, June, or July. It didn't go past that.
Right. What happens if we still have it, or it gets worse?
But at least July, we can meet outside under a tent, socially distanced, with open air.
Right.
So,
Did you have any feelings one way or the other yourself?
I feel that no matter what decision I make, I'm going to get half the people mad.
Oh, yeah. Everything you do in life, you make half the people mad and half the people happy.
Yeah. So I like, Lindsay, if I'm correct, told me that was it everybody on the school board, or is it a split? 3-2 vote.
Yeah, I was going to ask Lindsay to come up and speak.
Lindsay, yeah.
Lindsay Pickard, I guess for now I'm speaking for the school board. On Monday, after a weekend of receiving a number of concerned messages from our public with regard to carrying forward with deliberative session and in consideration of Governor Sununu's most recent executive order allowing us a little more flexibility in postponing our deliberative and town voting sessions, I did reach out to Ben and to Dennis to give a heads up that I thought that it was an important issue for both boards to consider. I have reviewed the executive order in its entirety. Our board did meet and discuss at 6 p.m. tonight. It was a 3-2 vote to postpone. The original motion was to postpone until May, but it was decided, there was a friendly amendment to allow postponement until the moderators and the governing bodies could decide on a new date together. So without setting a hard and fast. I think the intent of the motion, though, was a May-ish time frame to allow for potentially meeting outside. We did discuss some logistics, such as, we've held graduations at the school outside for years. We have the capability to have the stage out there, the sound system out there, all of the chairs, and actually Ian suggested that potentially the back parking lot would be best to give a nice solid space as opposed to the lawn, which of course can be uneven. So that was the school board's decision. We did discuss that there were, in just about 24 hours, there were 75 signatures on that petition. And of course that doesn't reach all of our voting population. And there just wasn't enough time, I think, for that petition to get to some of our people who don't participate in Facebook. Most importantly, last year, it was brought up a number of times, our concern for our elderly population and our at-risk population. And those are the population of people that we would be asking to put themselves at risk by attending this deliberative and exercising their right as a public citizen to vote. And I think regardless of whether it's 1 or 100, when you're running into a situation where you might be prohibiting your citizens the opportunity to speak, then that's an issue. So that was the school board's position.
Thank you. Henry, did you have anything that you wanted to add at this point?
I don't believe I do, but I have a question. That so-called petition, has every name been checked that they are a legal resident of this town?
No.
Has the select board or whomever checked all those names?
No. No, it hasn't gone to the town clerk.
Thank you. I don't need to discuss that.
I was just going to mention that our building principal did review the list and noted that there were only 3 names on the list that she could not readily identify as a Winchester resident.
Teresa?
I just want to make one other point. Whatever month we do the elections on or in, it has to be the second Tuesday.
Yeah.
That's in stone.
Teresa Seppi. I definitely see both sides of the coin here, definitely, without a doubt. But I don't think that the Board of Selectmen should accept a petition because that's not what it is. It's just individuals saying a petition has to be, it's not legally binding. That petition right there is not legally binding. Secondly, the town clerk should review, and on petitions review, to see that people are actually registered voters, and that's when it becomes a petition or a warrant article or whatever. This is going to be a hard decision for the moderators. There's no question about that. My feeling, my personal feeling on it right now is that we set the deliberative session. It's this Saturday for the school and a week from Saturday for the town. I voted for, as a budget committee member, for the school budget. I'd like to see that passed quickly at the deliberative session so the town can move on and vote for it. The reason why we made which was a great decision, whoever made it, was at the school because it's bigger and there's more people. There's more space, I mean. I don't know, in 25 plus years that I've voted in this town, I don't think I counted more than 60 people at the deliberative session for the town. I'm more concerned with the deliberative session for the school because there's a lot more people there, you know, that go to that. And the space that we can have, I mean, I just really think that when we did the elections at the school this year, I think it worked out pretty well. But I'm concerned that people aren't going to be able to voice their opinion, and they need to be able to voice their opinion. So if the moderators decide to have one election, you know, or the deliberative session as say, why don't we come up with ideas like, on the website, why don't we put like cell phone number or cell phone numbers for certain people to call in their question. And I was asking the town clerk about this morning. And the thing we came up with, it then becomes hard to confirm that the person is a town resident, because when they speak at deliberative session or vote, they have to obviously confirm that they're from the town. But I hear it's a wicked tough decision that you guys have to have, because I'm like, I don't know, you know, I'm concerned with the safety of elderly people, of all people, but elderly people need to be able to come and voice their opinion, especially, you know, at the deliberative sessions, because that's when they usually do it. But we're talking maybe 60 people at the town, I don't know, maybe 150.
Yeah, I was just going to, that's why I stood
You
up.
know.
There were 175 people
Yeah.
that delivered last year. We have determined with appropriate social distancing that our max amount is between like 140 to 160 at the most.
Right. So, you know, that would be my concern too. But like, and you know, you make a valid point, but you know what? You know, some people could we do something where we have like audio outside where 30 or 40 people might be, outside if it's a nice day. I know it's a crazy time, 120 people in the gym. I'm hoping there's not going to be that many people because I want the budget to pass. So I don't think there's going to be a lot of conflict there because the school board and the budget committee agreed on this. So let's move forward to that. And if somebody really needs to voice their opinion, they can notify the town or the school and say, I want to voice my opinion. This is who I am. I'm an elderly person. I'd be willing to give my cell phone number out and stand there and say, this is so-and-so on a microphone, and this is the question they're asking. I get both sides of it, but I think it's going to put too much turmoil, to be honest with you, if we prolong this. And one of the biggest concerns that I have right now is not so much the town, it's the school. It's the school. I want that budget to pass. And I want it to go on the vote on election day with the amount that both the school board and the budget committee agreed to. And I'm ready for it. I'm ready for questions. I'm ready for any questions somebody has why I voted the way I voted. I think we just need to move forward and just be really conscientious about the safety of every person and respect each other's person. Respect the boundaries, respect wearing a mask. When you're on the school property, my son turns on Parker Street, he puts his mask on. He's at basketball now, he puts his mask on. And he walks out of the car, and if a 13-year-old can do it, somebody else can do that too. Stay away from each other 6 to 8 feet. When we talk, 6 to 8 feet away from each other, even Jack and I. You know what I'm saying? That's what we need to do. We need to move on. We need to get the budget on the ballot for election for the school. And that's what I want to have happen. That's a priority for me right now, is to get that budget, because they can't work off a budget for another year with what they have now. So I'm hoping that you guys will just move it on, and even if you have to hire people and put more money for election officials to be there to help facilitate this for safety of everybody, then let's do it. You know what I mean? I would volunteer to do that. I have volunteered to do that. I know Lindsay would volunteer. You know what I'm saying? The people on the school board, they'd volunteer to help keep people social distancing, be outside, do whatever they got to do to get this thing moving. But respect each other's opinion, even if it differs from mine. That's what I'm asking. Stop all the arguing, respect each other's safety, and respect each other's opinion, even if it's different.
Thank you, Teresa.
I respect your opinion about the budget. We do have until the beginning of the fiscal year, so I don't see the harm in postponing it for a couple of months, because the new budget won't go into effect until July anyway. So I don't see why we can't postpone it until the weather's more appropriate for holding it outside. We still have until July 1st before the new budget rolls
And I
over.
respect that, but also at the same token, you don't know that July 1st we're not going to be going through the fall or the winter with this.
Right, but we
We don't have the answers, so you know what I'm saying? I understand what you're saying, and I respect what you're saying, but it could be 9 months from now.
Agreed, but at least we have the ability to have it outside as opposed to inside.
Natalie?
It just stinks. Thank you. So I agree with what everybody's saying. I just want to maybe come up with a different option for the board, because I see both sides. I do. I believe it's SB2 that was just what they were trying to pass in the Senate, and it actually got held up. And that's why the governor placed the emergency order, because the House doesn't reconvene till after most deliberatives. So it actually had bipartisan support to postpone it, because people should not be scared to go voice their opinion. It's part of the democratic process. You need to go voice your opinion, you need to be active in your government. Part of that bill was to give the option to people to participate in multiple platforms. So they had, part of it was a drive-in deliberative, kind of like how the House meets now in a drive-in session, where you can come, you could be safe in your own vehicle, and you could still participate in the deliberative. I know it's hard for us to organize that real fast, but if we postpone for even a month, that's going to give us the opportunity so everybody can attend. The other thing I want to say that is, I remember. Lindsay, what's the capacity for the school? For the gym.
Like without COVID?
Oh, no, with COVID, 6 feet.
Yeah, with COVID, we figured out the capacity is about 150.
Okay, so with COVID, the capacity is about 150 people. Now, what happens if we reach that capacity? I know it's unlikely for a town deliberative, but what happens if you do get there? Is it going to be canceled anyway? So I think, in my opinion, the best option that helps everybody is to postpone it now and then come up with a solution so everybody can participate. Thank you.
Thank you.
Dennis Murphy again. Unfortunately, we can't do Zoom meetings with the state. They have not permitted that. And also another clarification, SB2, we're an SB2 town, but this is not the same SB2.
That's not what I'm talking about.
No, I'm just, for people, this is SB2 town. A lot of people don't know that Senate Bill 2 for this year has the same connotation as our type of government.
Correct.
As far as the 150 goes, the state permits overflow. So we could use another part of the facility, whether it be a cafeteria, a library, or whatever. And there would have to be a runner so that people will be able to have their chance to say their piece at the deliberative session. So we have to accommodate that. If it totally exceeds the space at the school, it would have to, the overflow with the monitor and everything else would all have to be done here too. Setting up the monitors here so people can see. There is, it's right, when you do it, there is not really too many they permit that. And it's, like I said, I wish we could do it differently.
So it's
No matter what happens, if we do have an overflow, if last year, if that was a lot larger crowd, we would have to have done the same thing, an overflow some way, one way or the other. Or
Right.
it would have been postponed to a later date so we could have a larger facility so people could have their say. That's the answer to that part of the piece of it. But yeah.
But it sounds to me like even to hold it sooner rather than later, I'll say, it's still going to take some time to organize it. It's not something that can be organized between now and Saturday.
No. And there's a possibility that something gets postponed, because a crowd size reaches building capacity, and that would have to be, you actually go into, it's not really postponed, you go into recess to a different date.
Right.
I just would like to ask two questions, and one is that if they did use an overlap rule,
Yeah.
you guys hear me okay?
Can you come up to the mic, Teresa?
If they did use an overlap room, how I look at it is the moderator is in charge of, this thing that's happening Saturday at school. The moderator works with the school board and asks a couple of people maybe that go there, for the deliberative session to make sure that the elderly people get into the gym and get those chairs and have some runners if they do use an overlap room, and that Lindsay and the school board can, facilitate it with the moderator. And that's the only suggestion I would have if that happened. I'd be more than willing to do that if they wanted me to do, get, questions or get people in that had questions that were in an overlap room. And the only other question I would like to know from the moderators is, this is Wednesday. We have Saturday. So when are they going to meet together and make a decision and let the townspeople and let the budget committee and the school board and the selectmen know? Because we have...
They're doing that tonight.
Okay.
As soon as
Before we leave tonight, the town will have an answer.
as soon as we're all done with the discussion here, then the moderators are going to go back. I told them they could use Carrie's office where they could speak in private to figure out what they want to do and then come out and make their announcement.
Okay, thank you.
Hi, Tina Perkins, Concerned Citizen. I think one of the things that we need to be concerned with, and Teresa, I hear what you're saying, but when you're talking about the older generation, they've been housing, they've been staying at home, they've been diligent, they've been listening to what the media is saying, stay home, stay healthy. So even if we give them the opportunity to come to the deliberative, they're not going to take that chance. So I'm just, my concern is for those people who don't want to take the chance to come into another facility with more people than they've seen in a year and get COVID. So that's where my concern is for those voters who have been home, being diligent, taking care of their families, taking care of themselves, not spreading COVID, and being able to hear their votes in, a few months, couple months.
I just wanted to offer some clarification. The school board voted to postpone. The executive order allows the governing body to make that decision. It asks that we do that in conjunction with the moderators, but it allows the governing body to make that decision in that order. So if the town decides to go forward with their deliberative, that's completely appropriate, that's your decision to make, and town voting on the same day, the school board will most likely work to implement the drive-through voting protocol that was part of the SB 2, the Senate Bill 2, I will clarify that, so that we don't incur any additional time or cost with changing our voting day. But just to be clear, the school board voted to postpone our deliberative.
Does anybody else from the public have anything to add?
I have one more time. I'm sorry. Then may I address Dennis real quick?
Sure.
Dennis, I was just wondering if the town did go through with, if your recommendation was to keep, and I'm sorry I can't turn around and look at you without not talking into the microphone. So it's kind of weird. I can see your reflection though, so that's good. Oh, I can do that. There you go. If there was if you did decide to go through with it, and now you had mentioned overflow rooms, was that discussed with the school board? Is there a plan for that already? I know the supervisor of checklists said that she would not attend because she does not feel safe. So I was just wondering if there was a plan for that. I mean, it's in 2 weeks, so that would, have to kind of move a little fast. Thanks.
Well, I think, I not to try and cut Dennis off, but I think from what Dennis was saying earlier, that's why I mentioned that no matter what, even to make it happen sooner rather than later, there's still a lot of planning that has to be done.
And I would like to caution, whatever decision we come up with, if we do postpone, if the Board of Selectmen choose another date, that's going to have to be it, irregardless of what's going on with COVID-19. You just can't get, this cannot be kicked down the road too much longer. And then just, that's just a fact right now. We don't know what my biggest fear is this other one that's coming out from Africa, that variant of COVID-19.
Well,
The vaccines aren't touching it.
and at this point, I'm not prepared. I'm nowhere close to being prepared as to offer a new date as of right now. I do feel confident. I do feel good about postponing. I don't want to see it postponed till July, but I also wouldn't dare say postpone it for a month or 2 months, or I'm gonna strictly leave that up to the moderator's decision, and based on what the CDC is showing for numbers and what happens.
My personal recommendation, I would suggest, as myself, not speaking for the board, would be May or June. That's just my recommendation. That way, at least the weather would be more favorable.
Okay. Does anybody else have any questions for us?
Does anybody else from the board have anything for the moderators? before-
Either board?
Yeah. Yeah. All right, we'll continue on with our meeting, and when you guys are done, just pop out and I'll stop and let you make your announcement. Okay, moving on with our regular business. Next, we have the minutes from January 20th.
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? None. Motion carries. Then we have paperwork here from Southwest Regional Planning Commission. This is on the study on the town beaches ramp, and this is just paperwork to continue moving forward with the project with the using the grant funds for the feasibility study. Just need a motion to approve moving forward with this still.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? None. Motion carries. There's about 30 pages for me to sign, so I will not tie up everybody's time and do that right now. Next, we have a letter. It's just a draft letter. It's nothing that's ready to be signed or anything yet. They're just looking to see if the Board of Selectmen would be interested in supporting this or not. The rail trail is looking at the possibility of applying for some new funding that became available, part of TAP funds, TAP funds, and they're just wondering if the Board of Selectmen would be interested in supporting their idea of going for these funds, because they don't want to keep moving forward and spending a lot of time on it if the selectmen don't feel like it's worth it. But I always say if somebody finds funds that isn't going to cost the taxpayers money, then go for it. That's my opinion. I don't know.
Well, if you read that, it will cost us some money.
Is it a matching grant?
No, it isn't. It's a 80-20, Carrie?
This got put on my desk after I
Oh,
left,
okay,
so
I'm sorry.
I had a chance to read it.
80% from the federal government and 20%, it's matching funds. Yeah, so the grant they're applying for will only pay 80% of the project. But the 20% would obviously have to come out of their capital reserve. And if it's not in the capital reserve, they can't use it, obviously.
No, I think they're asking for expenditures on top of the capital reserve. I read it correctly.
Well, we can't support expenditures that aren't budgeted.
I understand that. I just wanted to let you know what it was.
Right. Well, even if the real paperwork comes in with something else, we obviously can't support expenditures that aren't budgeted or capital reserve expenses that the finances aren't there for. So,
What's the deadline on that grant? To file it?
I didn't, it said, no, I didn't see a deadline. It just said round 4 of the application cycle was just recently announced, but it doesn't say a deadline. But it does say that they're hoping to plan a project in the fall of 2021, which is this fall. So, I mean, I'm still in support of it. I would just support them. It looks like they have an estimated cost for the project, and it gave their breakdown of what the 80% federal TAP funds amount would be and the 20% local matching funds. But it says here, Jack, that the matching funds would be $85,000, consisting of $15,000 in capital reserve funds from the town, and the rest would be approximately $70,000 in donated or other matching funds.
Right. And
So it sounds like they have somebody else that's willing to kick in the other $70,000.
Right, they have, I don't know if it's private investors or
Yeah, I don't
donation
know,
of
but it's
some kind.
not.
I knew it was $15,000.
Right, which is what I think is in the capital reserve. Well, it
Well,
will be if the
If the warrant passes.
If the warrant passes, there'll be $15,000 in there, so they're not asking for any additional money from the town.
Well, I took it because what I was going off of then was the money that we have in the capital reserve and the proposed article on the to be voted on. That money I thought was pretty much earmarked already, listening to Mr. Beeman in discussions about bridges that they wanted to do. And they had some other work that they would like to do with that money. So I just didn't think that they wanted to take it towards this grant.
Well, no, they had mentioned that they wanted to use it for the bridges and stuff and trail maintenance, but they also wanted to try and use it to get some grants. I do remember Mr. Beeman mentioning that, and this whole project is for the 9.6 miles of Ashwillet Rail Trail that's located within Winchester.
Right.
So it's still part of the same project.
It is. It's just, it's going to deplete their capital reserve.
It'll deplete it, but if it costs us $15,000 to do $510,000 worth of work, then I don't see a downside there.
Can we get some further information?
Well, yeah, I mean, yeah, like I said, this is just a draft, but before they spent a lot of time doing the application and doing everything else that's involved, they wanted to just get a feeling as to whether the Board of Selectmen was going to be supportive of it or not. And it's too far for you to reach. Did you have any feelings on this, Chan? Or?
No, I'm in support of it. I think it's a good idea, but again, it depends on whether you get the money or not. You don't even guarantee you're going to get it.
It would definitely be made very clear to them that,
Yep.
and I'm sure they know that they can't use money we don't have.
That's right.
So they can't go into a grant application promising to use town funds that they don't have access to. So Is it the board's feeling to let them know that we are supportive?
I'm in favor of it.
Yeah, I'm in favor. It's just that I think that we need, one is get some information from Mr. Beaman on his plans or his organization plans. And two is that capital reserve, the funding in that right now is, I believe, below $3,000, isn't it?
It was somewhere around, somewhere around 3,000.
So I guess it's a timeline that I was thinking about, because we sit here tonight talking about moving a derivative and a voting into the future. You have construction that, what you say, 2020?
21.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, this fall.
Yeah, this fall.
I'm sorry, yeah, this fall. So the money that they would need would have to come from an article that has to be voted on, and we're not even sure when we're going to be voting on it.
Well, that's why I asked what's the deadline for the grant?
Right.
It really all depends on that.
Yeah, I don't, this paperwork doesn't show a deadline on it for the grant, so. But if we support them and they move forward, then they will have paperwork for us that has that, once they do the rest.
If they apply for the grant and they get it, and we don't get the money from the voters to put in that account, then they turn down the grant.
Right. Right, just because you're awarded a grant
you have to take
doesn't mean you have to accept it. So, unfortunately, circumstances do come up where people don't accept grants that are awarded. So,
Motion on that, Doug?
I don't think we need a motion because there's no official paperwork, but the consensus of the board seems to be that we do support it. So if Carrie, you could reach out to them and let them know, and let them know our concerns on the dollar amounts. And to please keep us up to date with how the process is going for them. All right, next in the signature folder, Amy has well, actually the trustees of the trust funds have a request in here to void, to do a stop payment and void a check that was issued on 9/21 in the amount of $5,248.21 out of the Sewer Capital Reserve Fund that was written out to Xylem. Is that how you pronounce that? Xylem Water Solutions. Apparently, after the check was mailed, a new invoice came that showed a credit, and it's now been applied to the account, so we need to stop payment and void this check.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? None. Motion carries. And then there's a request in here for payment out of the Sewer Capital Reserve Fund to Xylem. This is the payment after the credit, and this would be for $5,168.21.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None. Motion carries. And then there's some line transfers. There's all line transfers for adjustment on merit increases and a shortage of in those lines. There's no total amount here, but there's four prices: $2,033.60, $4,928, $2,000, and then $880.
So move.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? None. Motion carries. That's all I have in there, and Dennis is back. So Dennis, I will give you the floor again.
Thank you, Ben. This has been agonizing, as probably all well aware. There is no easy answer. Whatever I say right now, I'm going to have people mad at me. But given everything that's going on and what possibly be going on in the future, we feel that we should hold the elections barring weather as scheduled.
As scheduled?
As scheduled. The deliberative sessions and the town meeting that we have, the second session in March.
All right. Now, we're speaking both town and school?
Town and school. Barring weather, obviously there is a weather provision in all of this. And that's already been, settled a few years back when Henry and I again had to sit and postpone our elections under threat of going to jail. So, but at least they had the support of the Board of Selectmen at that point. And I appreciate that a whole bunch. This one is going to be hard.
Okay, so the way it's stated now is that the town and school deliberative and voting day is all going to stay as planned?
Yes.
I just want to again be very clear. The school voted to postpone their deliberative session, and the executive order allows the governing body to vote in that nature. So we are not holding a deliberative session on Saturday. I will follow up with legal to ensure that's correct, and the school board will work to hold a vote in deliberative or drive-through deliberative in order to still fall in line with the town voting the second Tuesday of March. But I just want to be very clear. We voted to postpone, and the executive order allows that.
I didn't read Executive Order 83 in that manner, but that's another story.
Do you have it there then?
Yeah, I have it here. Do you know where in here it is?
You have it right, Henry, the paperwork is right there.
I was trying to breeze through it and see, but
You actually do have it. The governing body of a town, school district, or village, in consultation with the moderator and the clerk, may postpone the official ballot voting day. That does not say the moderator. That says in consultation.
in consultation with the moderator and the clerk.
Yeah. So I actually don't even know if Jim had been consulted with regard to this decision either.
I will tell you, Jim wanted the sessions to stay the way they were. Okay? There's a whole bunch of other things going.
The governing body may also postpone the business of or deliberative session of the annual meeting to one or more of the dates later in 2021. Part B tells how we give notice, which is as soon as we know that we'll repost. And of course, all of the appropriate, most of it underlined what I had underlined, there was still some more down here. All of the appropriate notices will be given in a required amount of time. So for instance, if the school continues to postpone with the drive-through session in 2 weeks, then we would repost all of our appropriate documents within that time frame.
I don't think you're going to meet the time frame for March elections and post those properly. So what we're going to have is 2 elections. We'll have a town election, we'll have a school election, 2 different deliberative sessions, 2 different days, 2 different voting days. We will not be able to do it together.
Dennis, can you get can you get clarification from the Secretary of State tomorrow?
Most certainly will.
And
You're gonna have to
Reach
hold
out.
an emergency meeting, because right now he's in violation of the law, and you're opening yourself up for a lawsuit.
we're not violating any laws right now.
If he decides to move forward with the school deliberative.
Excuse me?
Dennis.
I'm confused what you're saying.
Dennis, can you just, tomorrow, can you get clarification?
I'll give Dave a call, Dave
Yeah.
Scanlon, Assistant Secretary of State.
All right. Yeah.
That wasn't one of the questions I had either, was it, Kerry? I don't even know, not even close to it. I've been working with Kerry, and I appreciate all your effort, Kerry, for everything you've done, and all the questions that have been brought to me, and getting me answers for those questions.
All right, so we'll look forward to your clarification. I don't know how we're going to announce the
We
clarification.
would have to have a meeting tomorrow night.
Do you guys have a meeting tomorrow night?
We do not.
Is everybody available tomorrow night?
Too late to postpone. You
Oh,
need 24
yeah.
hours.
What about Friday? You guys available Friday?
Well, Friday, then you get Saturday. We're outside that time frame too.
You don't have enough time to post if the meeting changed. You're
Is
totally
there
not
anybody,
following the law.
is there anybody at Secretary of State doesn't have a 24-hour hotline, do they?
It's not election. There's no elections going on, so unfortunately, there's no one at the Secretary of State's office. If we were having an election right now, someone would be there until we pass in the results.
Ben, as far as the school goes, if that's accurate, which I have no reason not to believe, Lindsay, it isn't, because I haven't talked to the Secretary of State, we still have a scheduled meeting before our deliberative. So at that time, we'll have an answer from the Secretary of State, and then this board can act on it and maybe maybe get a neutral, not a neutral, but a date that is in order with the school, so we can have just one, because it's just a waste of money to have two deliverables.
I fully understand that, and that was one of the things Kerry has the answer to that question, because that's one of the questions I asked. What happens if one board goes one way, the other board goes the other way, and the moderators agree? Ultimately, the way I understood it, yes, we work in consulting with our particular boards, but it's ultimately the moderator's signature that goes on the bottom of that form to postpone. When we sat in the selectman's office a couple of years ago for that Monday, postponing the election on Tuesday against the Secretary of State's advice, against the governor's advice, and the Attorney General's office just threw their hands up on us.
Well, Dennis,
and we
I'm sorry. Could you make that phone call tomorrow?
Sure.
Let Carrie know as soon as possible. That way she could let us know, and then reach out to Lindsay so she could let the school board know, and that we can go from there.
Okay. Does anybody else have any concerns for me before I make those calls?
I don't think since, oh, James, you have something? Sure. Come on up to the microphone.
James Rokes, Old Spofford Road. I feel like if we should have been consulting with our school moderator, he should have been invited to the meeting we had tonight, so we could have heard what he had to say and his opinion about it. That's all I got.
All right, well, because none of us here are the Attorney General or the Governor and can clarify on our own what these orders mean and don't mean, I think that's about all we can really do for tonight with this. So we look forward to hearing from you tomorrow, Dennis. So so.
Karen, do you have a phone in your office?
A phone, yeah.
Speakerphone? I'll be down, I don't know what time they open, I'll be in your office at 8.
Dennis, can I ask you a question? So the school board decided to postpone. This board did not make a vote. What was your decision in not postponing?
What was it? It was, given everything that's going on, and you know, and other people having their input of the logistics. Jim has a certain few things that he has to get done. I'll be honest with you, yes, Henry.
I mean, wouldn't it make more sense to postpone that way you have time to work out all these details? My opinion.
I don't know. You know, I really don't. It's, like I said, this one's it's a tough one, and you know, trying to figure out what's going to happen in the future, given everything else that's going on. I wish I wish I had a good answer. I don't. You know, the decision. You know, I was more on the fence than other people were, or which way we should go. And I'm, you know, my gut's still on the fence, but I understand. And other people that, you know, we got to somehow get this thing done behind us. And, you know, like I said, it's not a good decision. Nothing's a good decision. Postponing, not postponing, neither one's a good one.
Thank you, Dennis.
All right, thank you, Dennis. Thank you, Henry. That's all I have in the folder. I don't have anything else myself. Does anybody else from the board have anything?
Yes, I do. Some of you may be aware, and some of you might be hearing for the first time, but as of April 23rd of 2021, TD Bank will be closing its branch here in the Kulix Mall. I reached out to them, and with Carrie's help, they got back through, send them an email. They are looking for a permanent place for a approved ATM in town, but to me that isn't good enough. I'm asking this board to draft a letter to be sent out to the gentleman. Is it Keith Pike?
That's who I deal with.
Yeah.
He's
Vice President of Government Banking. We have a very large number of retirees, senior citizens, and a percentage of that, a very high percentage, is low to moderate income, and a lot of them don't even drive; they walk or rely on family members to get them places. So this bank is very important to this town because driving the 12 miles into Keene just won't work for a lot of our seniors. So I know it will probably fall on deaf ears. TD Bank, said it's a business decision, which I don't understand. They're closing 81 branches, but this particular branch is actually a moneymaker for them. So I would like this board to, like I said, draft. Excuse me, Dennis. I'm trying to talk. Draft a letter and send it out with this board approval after we all got a chance to read it, and just emphasize to them the importance of that branch for our citizens in town. I'm not sure how the rest of the board feels, but that's how I feel.
As an account holder myself, I'm in agreement with you, Jack.
Me too.
I personally, not speaking on behalf of the Board of Selectmen in any way, means, shape, or form, personally as Ben Kolansky, think TD Bank's one of the worst banks in the world, but I do agree that it closing down does affect the community. I mean, I would be in support of drafting a letter and sending it to them. They're still not going to get my business, but I will support a letter.
Well, thanks, Ben. It's and you're right. That's your right. But and it will probably fall on deaf ears. They made a decision in corporate office, and they'll probably stick with it. But we need to let them know, because I've spoken to a lot of elderly, and they're not sure what they're going to do now. So.
Tina Perkins, Town Citizen. Do you guys, as a operating body, have the capacity to reach out to banks and see if they might want to come and open up a branch here in Winchester?
We can reach out to anyone, Tina. This is a problem, and I've reached out to a few. Banks don't like to own their own branches, because they don't like real estate. They like the lease. The problem is, the lease for TD Bank here doesn't expire until 2023. They're going to continue paying it. They're not even going to attempt to buy it out. To me, I guess you can look at it both ways, that, all right, they're going to try to hold on to the ATM there for a couple of years. I'm looking at it as they're trying to keep that lease and keep that building open so no competitor can move in.
Right.
Yeah.
Because why would you pay that amount for lease on an empty building? So yes, we can. We're limited in space because the people that I've spoken to, they don't like to own. They like to rent their buildings.
And the other big problem is the town itself doesn't own any suitable property for a bank. So, I mean, we could reach out and ask them to come, but Natalie's doing a pee-pee dance back there, so she's got something good to say. I mean, we can ask any business to come to town that wants to come to town, but we don't have any negotiation or anything like that.
So to piggyback off what Tina said, because I actually thought about this the other day when it was posted in the Ashwila General Store, why don't we task the Red Committee? So they are, what is it? Something economic development. Revitalization, thank you. So part of economic development, it would be great if the Red Committee could actually, get information from the residents as to who banks here, who wants to bank here. So you could have that data to now give to a bank that would like to come to Winchester, because businesses like to see that data to know what their clientele is going to be, and how much money they're going to make, frankly. So I think it'd be a good project for the Red Committee to take on.
Well, I don't disagree. Even with the statement I made earlier, I think it'd be the best route is to see if there's a way to be able to keep what we already have, because people are already set up and people are already established and have their routines. But for the same reasons as Jack mentioned with the 2-year lease, that they're going to continue to pay just to keep an empty space, so it's not like another bank could move right into that same space. If our letter does fall on deaf ears, then we will have to look at other avenues.
Well, I heard that they're also closing 810 locations.
81.
Oh, 81?
81.
Oh.
Yeah, I saw 81 in the newspaper, was it?
It's 81.
I think it was the newspaper. I saw an article that said 81 locations.
The problem is, because corporates they're only looking at numbers, and a large majority of the country that TD Bank is established in, the states that they're established in, a large percentage of that is going to over wire, over your computer. Direct deposit and so forth, and transactions through that. The Northeast is TD Bank's largest in-person transaction of all their areas that they have branches in, or main offices. It's Northeast still wants to hold on to the paycheck and give it to someone. So they're just looking at overall that they're losing the in-person transaction, but those numbers don't carry over here. The numbers at this branch here are still very high with in-person. We'll see. We'll write them a letter, and if they comes back that they, made up their mind that they're not even thinking about staying, then maybe we can talk to them about trying to buy out not us, but have them buy out their lease, so at least the bank building itself will be empty. Then we can move forward to try to reach out to another.
Well, maybe the new owner of Coolix, that lease is no longer binding.
Now, all leases were transferable in the, yes. Yeah.
But Jack, they own the building in Hinsdale. Look how long they've had that empty. They won't release it because they don't want anybody going in there.
Yeah.
Right.
So.
Yeah. It's sad.
Yeah.
All right.
So Carrie, if you want to get that letter drafted, and after you're done, let me know, and I'll sign it so we can get it mailed right out.
That's all I had.
That's all you had? Anybody else from the board have anything? All right, even though we've already heard from most of the public, if there's anything else to be said quickly? No?
Oh, yes, I'm sorry. Before the public goes. No, I'll wait till next week until we have a full board.
Okay.
Yeah.
You do have one thing?
I just want to know if you guys talked about the virtual platform that you talked about last week.
No.
I didn't get any numbers. I could call in to somebody and nobody got back to me.
Yeah, Carrie's been actively working on, I actually recommended that she reach out to, once she gets numbers.
I reached out to Val. I got some input from Val so that I
Yeah.
made a phone call to get some more information from Zoom.
Yeah,
And the gentleman who works in the New Hampshire region has not come back to me yet.
okay. Yeah. All right, that being said, I will entertain a motion to go into non-public under RSA 91A32. Did you have something?
I just want to know what the story is with when voting is.
Well, we won't know until tomorrow.
Are we calling another meeting?
Huh?
Are we calling another meeting?
They what?
Are you calling another meeting for it?
No. We stated earlier.
I walked out for a second. Sorry, Jack.
Dennis is getting clarification from the Attorney General's office tomorrow. He's then going to reach out to Carrie, the Select Board, and the School Board. And as it stands right now, the moderators have voted to postpone, and the School Board the moderators have voted to continue the way they're scheduled. The School Board's voted to postpone. And that's what we know as of right now.
Should we vote as a board?
No, we didn't vote as a board. I was leaving that up myself. I was leaving that up to our town moderator.
And we don't have a full board either. And we're gonna, we're meeting, we have one more meeting before our scheduled meeting anyways. And I agree with Ben. I leave it up to the moderator.
Moderators always had control of deliberative session, or all of town meeting, I should say. So I'll continue with entertaining a motion to go into non-public under RSA 91A32, little A, B, C, and E.
Second.
Roll call, Jack Marsh.
Aye.
Herb Stevens.
Aye.
Lori Lustig. Ben Klansky, aye. We are now in non-public.
I have a question real quick. Are you going to go back into public after you're non-public again?
Yeah, we always do.
I know, but are you actually gonna vote on stuff? Because you've been doing that recently.
We don't usually have any business unless it's an announcement of if somebody puts in a resignation or something.
That's incorrect.
Yeah.
You recently voted to withdraw a warrant, an article from your warrant, and that was not done during this usual meeting.
It was done right after.
No, that's fine.
So are you going to come back into public session and have a discussion?
No, we came
We'll
out
be
of
back in
non-public.
because you've got to close the meeting in public no matter what.
Right,
I understand the process. Did you take public comment today and I missed it?
Yes.
yes.
I would have dropped out during public comment.
That's, yeah, I missed it, kind of, too. But it's fine. But, so are you gonna have any more business that you're gonna vote on after this non-public?
I don't believe so. We have nothing to discuss after
Okay. Thank you.
and nothing to vote on.
You'll post an ordinance